Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. The thing with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and why they're kind of a weird property to adapt into a movie is because although it started out as a comic book series and then did have a movie that was based on that comic book series, it is probably most famous for the original 80s cartoon show and even the cartoon show now for most kids who are seeing this movie in theaters. It's not really so much how the Ninja Turtles originally came to be. So even when I was a kid, when I saw the first Ninja Turtles live action movie and kids seeing it now, that's always why you're seeing a live action Ninja Turtles movie. And Out of the Shadows is probably the first to be primarily based on the animated show, or at least it feels like the animated show, particularly the 80s animated show, which started the whole Turtles phenomenon and made them a household name and a major property. And it's probably the better for it because not having to be bogged down by an origin story, it can have a lot more fun. It can do the fun Ninja Turtles sequel, which the first fun Ninja Turtles sequel, Secret of the Ooze, was well known for being more of a fun, sillier sequel. And Out of the Shadows definitely falls in line with that kind of a Ninja Turtles film. It does try to be a little more serious and darker a little bit. It's mainly concerned with having these battles and action sequences and being more smart alecky and silly than its predecessor, but by way of producer Michael Bay's own kind of in-house style. This wasn't directed by Michael Bay, it was directed by Dave Green, who previously directed Earth to Echo, but Michael Bay kind of has such a stamp on this. It is similar to what happened with Amblin and Spielberg, where sure, they didn't direct the films, they produced them, but it almost feels like it's directed by a devotee of Michael Bay. Even the way any robotics are made in this film look exactly like the Transformers in that overly complicated circuitry way, which I don't really love that kind of style. I don't like the kind of rejected super male Axe body spray kind of thing that goes on throughout Michael Bay, and I don't even like it in Michael Bay movies. But I think Dave Green seems to have a little more cohesive energy to his action sequences than even Michael Bay did in the last couple Transformers movies. I can actually tell what's going on and get into these action sequences in the sort of fine way that this movie really is, but that's the most I really expect from this style, so it kind of just meets the fine expectations I really have going in and makes just a fine, okay sort of entertainment summer movie that reminds me of the underwhelming experience of seeing the first one, and watching it is just as much of a passive experience, but it's kind of at least a little more enjoyable, okay fine passive experience, and I'm kind of just okay with that. A year after the events of the last Ninja Turtles film, Shredder is incarcerated and being moved to another maximum security prison. The Foot then of course try to free him during his move, and the Turtles try to stop him, but as they're trying to stop Shredder from being freed, he jumps into a wormhole and disappears, and then goes into Dimension X, meets Krang, and then Krang tells him about an invasion that will happen that will eventually take over the world, and send Shredder back to start this invasion using Baxter Stockman, played by Tyler Perry, to find these three MacGuffin-like pieces to open this major portal to bring forth the Terror Dome and take over Earth for his own. But the Ninja Turtles will also fighting the urge once they found this chemical that then turns two criminals into Bebop and Rocksteady, not to use that chemical to make the Ninja Turtles human, as they feel very ostracized and forgotten living in the shadows this long, but they have to come to terms with all of that and save the world and New York City and have a nice slice of pizza. This Ninja Turtles movie is kind of very similar to the first film, but very different. Whereas the first Ninja Turtles film in this franchise used very cheap screenwriting tricks to present an origin story where everything and everyone is connected, and gave you kind of that lame, typical kind of origin story superhero type of movie. This combines a lot of different lamer screenwriting kind of tropes that we're used to from these kind of movies. In fact, it combines so many that you almost feel like it's an original movie, sort of, but not at all. It's kind of like the writers for this film were cinephiles, but only the kind that went and got the new releases from Redbox of big blockbuster movies. It has them putting together pieces to make an ultimate weapon. It has this idea of them being ashamed by the public. It has has strife just to have it. It has whole sequences and going places that don't matter for the whole film. And it's kind of bland in what it's doing, but there's kind of a funness to that with Out of Shadows. I think that's semi kind of remarkable. It's almost like Dave Green, the director of this film, is very good at making a very studio kind of Michael Bay movie. And I haven't seen a Michael Bay movie that I've quite enjoyed as much as this. Now, before you go thinking I actually like this movie, I didn't really. It's a very kind of passive, boring experience. You've seen all these things done a million times before. And I think when you're watching this, you kind of think about how we keep extending these properties further and further past the time when they're really socially relevant. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were relevant and a big deal in the late 80s, early 90s. It was a huge phenomenon, and of course it's a big brand name. People will come out to a movie with the name Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or at least they did for the last one. I don't know about this one. But I don't know if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles work as well, in at least for a movie. I know the cartoon show is still very successful in our modern landscape, and it's kind of like watching someone like Superman keep going and going as a character. Not every character can be around for 70 years and still capture the public's imagination the way they used to. With the Ninja Turtles no longer saying cowabunga and no longer really being the kind of characters we're used to, even in the cartoon show, as much as this uses elements from the 80s cartoon with like Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang and all the villains, the Turtles are these kind of different, newer version of the movie Turtles. They're not the Turtles that everyone kind of fell in love with, which is kind of its biggest problem, because as I recall, I'd seen Ninja Turtle movies for like, you know, the actual Ninja Turtles. Without the kind of fun, cartoony personalities of the Ninja Turtles, it just doesn't really feel as unique enough. It was like 5 when the Ninja Turtles really launched and became this huge thing, and it was fun telling people what cartoon show you're watching, and you're like, I'm watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's got 4 things, it's this complicated title, it's very much a parody of itself, it's very much a joke, they're named after Renaissance painters, there's all this ridiculous stuff going on, and that idea just isn't in either of these movies. And in Out of the Shadows, they just kind of don't have fun with that. They make kind of a regular kind of blockbuster. And if you're fine with them taking the Ninja Turtles and taking out kind of all the soul and the uniqueness and making kind of this bland, regular kind of blockbuster, then I guess you'd be fine with this. And in a very passive, fine kind of entertainment way, Out of the Shadows does do that well, but it's kind of like, who kind of cares? Give me a Ninja Turtles movie that is like the Ninja Turtles. I want the real characters. I want to have fun with it, not them interpreted for modern times, because frankly, that fucking sucks. Like, I don't like it at all. While I was watching, I'm like, why can't we just get an animated Ninja Turtles movie? That's the Ninja Turtles most people like universally. Everybody likes a Ninja Turtles cartoon. At this point, it's been going on for like almost 25 years of these animated Ninja Turtles cartoons becoming popular, whether it's the one on Nickelodeon or the one before. And I kind of wish they would go more into that, because these kind of roided up Ninja Turtles don't really mix well with the human counterparts, and the human storylines are never really that interesting. It almost feels like a way to save money on the budget from all the massive amount of CG bills they probably have from making this film. It feels like watching an old monster movie with an awesome poster, and you'd be waiting around for the whole movie for like this one sequence, because you know they couldn't afford to do that for the entire movie. But instead, like, this is like 130 million and stuff. Like, I don't really care about Megan Fox's April O'Neil or what happens with the guy who plays Casey Jones from Arrow, although he only wears the mask like once and has like no real personality as an actor in this film. So like, why have him play Casey Jones and not wear the mask? That really, like, why even have him in this movie? Like, the Casey Jones character was awful. Like, I didn't understand that at all. Like, there had to have been a reason other than to say, oh, we have Casey Jones and this guy who's in Arrow and stuff. But like, other than that, I just didn't understand what was the point at all in having that character. It wasn't like he was particularly useful or interesting or charismatic. I guess he's just kind of like this handsome guy, and that's it. I don't dislike Megan Fox too much. I wish they had the original April O'Neil from the very first Ninja Turtles movie, Judith Hogg. I know they shot a sequence with her, but that was not in the movie, and I kept thinking, like, did I like miss it? Like, I feel like I would have recognized her, right? I mean, I would have, I think, and like, she wasn't in it, and apparently they did ask Sam Rockwell if he wanted to do a cameo, and the guy who played Casey Jones in the first Ninja Turtles movie, and he turned it down as well. But it would have been nice to have her. Maybe it just didn't work, or it wasn't very good. good. I don't know, but it's kind of lame because I was like the only thing I was really excited about with this movie. I actually like the guys who play Bebop and Rocksteady. They really remind me of the Bebop and Rocksteady from the original cartoon show, kind of like stupid henchmen. They play more like the Bebop and Rocksteady from the first cartoon where they get introduced, and the Turtles like actually take them seriously as villains, but it becomes pretty clear like they move past that, just like the cartoon show did, that they're not these great villains that Shredder kind of hoped they could be. They're just kind of like these nincompoops who are just super powerful. And Will Arnett's, I guess, fine. Out of the Shadows doesn't really offer anything new for the Ninja Turtles. It offers something that maybe the public always wanted. Everyone's always wanted a live-action Ninja Turtle movie with Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady. People have probably wanted them since seeing Tokka and Razor from Secret of the Ooze. So this is something that's been demanded for a long time, but I just don't feel like this style works as well. I think Dave Green's better at doing this kind of style than most people, and there are some kind of neat little action sequences, but it just doesn't offer anything new or interesting to the franchise. I'd much rather watch a Turtles cartoon, and although this brings that Turtles cartoon that everyone recognizes to the live action world, I much rather watch people with cool animatronic puppet costumes on than watch this or watch animation. Like having these weird roided up like Vin Diesel looking Ninja Turtles. After the last Ninja Turtles, I remember looking around at Halloween and I saw all these kids wearing Ninja Turtle costumes and I was confused, like, wait, that movie? And someone was like, no, it's the cartoon show. I think this kind of gets the point. Like, that's what we love about the Ninja Turtles. And this instead feels like kind of the Poochie idea of doing anything where it's like, let's have them be like teenagers of today and have them have drones and make cool hashtag jokes and things like that. While not as horrible as like the Powerpuff Girls reboot, it just feels like a very disposable summer movie. It doesn't feel like the fun and the reason anyone fell in love with the Ninja Turtles. And I don't know if any of them will ever be as good as the first Ninja Turtles movie. I think Out of the Shadows just reminds me what I want from my Ninja Turtles is I want the cartoon, and I don't really want these live action movies as much as I think Hollywood wants to put them upon us. That's why we're seeing them, and that's why we fell in love with these characters. And until you can get a director who could bring us kind of like the 80s cartoon and bring us that awesome theme song, which I think is probably the most memorable Ninja Turtles thing that anyone has ever seen, however much the movies would like to wish it was something else. And I think Out of the Shadows, as much as it's trying to bring something that the movies have never done before, they absolutely show how they can never outshine the one thing that the Turtles are most famous for. And it's not the comic books or the live action films, it's the cartoons. And it's kind of boring way of telling its story in studio executive market research demographic kind of screenplay shows that it just isn't something that they'll never ever get close to doing. And after watching this movie, I don't think they'll ever get to do that anytime soon. So if you have seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.